Welcome to Rick's Corner. I have my good friend Jack Armstrong on, who's been on before. He's a former pro wrestler, bodybuilder, weightlifter, boxer, marathon runner, and a sex goddess. And he's my friend, and I'm proud to say that he's my friend. But we want to talk today about Jack Lalanne, who was the founder of fitness, and he passed away just recently. And we have some facts that he's done that a lot of you people don't know. But I also want to say one thing. When Jack showed up, he was wearing my original logo, the Gold's Gym, and I happen to have the World Gym. So we've got the two famous designs that I did back in the 70s for both gyms. So I think it's kind of weird because I'm the only person in the world that's related to the both gyms by way of my artwork. So
it's very true, yeah.
Yeah, these are my babies.
Yeah.
I am the dad.
Yeah.
My son.
It's the original.
And my pet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to have them both here. I had no idea. Yeah, I had a feeling he was going to be wearing that, and I didn't wear that for this reason, but as it be.
Works out.
It works out, right.
Yeah, it's very good.
So tell me, you knew Jack Lalanne.
Yes, I knew Jack Lalanne. I met him actually in the 80s, early 80s, like 80. I did a Jack Lalanne TV show in 81. My brother did it, because my brother knew Jack before I did, because he used to be area supervisor for Jack Lalanne European Health Spas. So they were hooked together there, and we used to sell the Jack Lalanne vitamins. You remember Superman and stuff like that? So we were involved with Jack back then, or in the early 80s, and I think my brother must have met him like in 78. But there was a funny little story people don't even know. There was a guy in Oregon named Sam Laprenzi who was almost a little clone of Jack. Yep. And Sam Laprenzi had his own gym. He started in 1948 in Portland, and he had his own gym, and it was called the Laprenzi Brothers. He had a TV show just like Jack, an exercise show, but only in Oregon. So nobody ever got to see him outside of Oregon. You know, you only knew him up in Oregon or Seattle, and that little area, and that was the end of it. But he came in second place, like in 1946, Mr. America. And the guy was the same size as Jack, and they were one number apart when they went into the Navy together.
That's
one,
really
one number. Yeah.
I worked out at Sam's gym when I was wrestling in Oregon. He had a really tight gym.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And you know when you knew Sam was around, right?
Yeah.
You hit a vacuum.
Yeah.
You be doing your lifts and everything. Yeah.
He was no different than Joe Gold as far as a gym owner. Don't drop the weights. Don't do this. Don't do that, or you're out of here. He ran a tight
But very
ship.
meticulous.
Very meticulous.
Yeah, he was.
No dust on anything.
Nice guy. Very nice guy.
But Jack was like the first one on national TV to have exercise and fitness shows.
Yes. Right. And his first gym was 1936.
Oh, okay. Well, were those shows for men or women or both?
For both.
Okay.
Both, yeah. And it started. I actually seen one of the first shows when I was a little kid. I was probably in 1955. 1955, 56 when he first came on, but then it went to New York, the show, and he was doing the Jumpin' Jacks, and he has two dogs on there. And that was the first time I ever saw Jack ever. You know, and that was back then.
Well, 50s. Jack was an amazing man, and a lot of you younger guys, they don't really know how amazing he really was, but he did a lot of strength feats. And he didn't do drugs. There was no steroids at all. I mean, this guy did this all on his own. You have some facts about him here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's see what they are.
Just to give you an idea, at 40 years old, he swam the length of San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge underwater with 140 pounds of equipment, including 2 tanks. And then that's an undisputed world record right now. Then, let's go a little bit further. When he was like 45, he competed 100 push-ups and 1,000 push-ups and 1,000 chin-ups in 1 hour and 22 minutes.
I remember hearing about that. Can you imagine 1,000 chin-ups and 1,000 push-ups nonstop?
Yeah, this is amazing stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then he did at 60 years old. At 60, he swam from Alcatraz Island to Fisherman's Wharf, second time, handcuffed, shackled, and towing a 1,000-pound boat.
Yeah, there's pictures of that on the internet. I saw them, and those waters are shark infested.
Yes,
and they're freezing.
Yeah, and you know when the reporter went up to him at the end and they said, "Why did you do it?" He says, "I did it to give them hope." And he looked the person.
Well, because the movie Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood, I think there's only one that made it.
Yeah, one ever.
Yeah, one ever. Yeah. The rest of them were eaten by sharks or disappeared in the cold water, and that was the end of them.
Yeah.
And this guy swims handcuffed, tugging a boat, but behind, with his teeth and shit.
It was amazing, amazing stuff.
Amazing.
So he actually did all these feats all the way up to 70 years old, where he was handcuffed, shackled, and fighting strong currents, and he towed 70 boats with 70 people, Queensway Bridge in the Long Beach Harbor in Queens Mary, and that was 1.5 miles.
How did he tow it? With his
the swimming strokes, like he
and
does.
where was the rope though?
handcuffed.
Around his neck?
Around his body.
Okay.
Yeah, around his body.
Can't imagine.
Yeah.
70 boats?
70 boats. 70 boats and 70 people.
Oh my God.
And then after that, it was there was no more of those things. Then he just did appearances and stuff like that after that.
Yeah, but that's a lot.
And then he also got the Walk of Fame at 88 years old. He got to star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah, 88 years old, yeah.
Yeah, I had scheduled an interview with him back in July. I called his assistant and I said, I want to interview Jack for Rick's Corner. And she's, well, he's not doing too well physically right now. She's, give us a couple of months and call me back, and then we'll schedule something. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and then he passed away.
Yeah.
So there's no way I can do it now. But I heard, this is really a weird story, just about a year or two ago, he got pulled over for DUI.
That's a possibility,
Yeah.
He liked his wine.
I guess we all have a drink once in a while.
Right, maybe before the exercise, right?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
You know.
Hey, well, let's put it this way: it should be legal after you're 90 to have a drink, right? Do what you want to do it.
I don't know if they even give you a driver's license after you're 90.
Right?
How tall was he?
He was about 5'5", 5'6". I say his top weight when you saw him like back in the early days, I would say he's probably about 170, and in the later days probably about 147. 147.
And he always wore his little jumpsuits.
Yeah.
Always famous for the jumpsuit.
And also, people don't know this, he was not able to do a full squat because he had a leg problem.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he actually worked around it. So, because probably if he was able to do full squats back in the days, because this took place when he was a teenager, he would have probably been squatting and been a bigger guy. He would have probably automatically been like 185, 190 just by doing squats.
And maybe a shorter guy.
You never know. Or have disc problems for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Right, yeah.
He, I met him once at a Christmas party at one of his gyms. Very, very nice guy. You felt like you knew him forever when you talked to him. Very funny, too. But, man, I mean, he had wide shoulders and a little short body, and he was just always full of energy, and he really inspired you to want to work out.
Yeah, he was effervescent.
Yes.
He really was an inspiring thing. Even Arnold said, we were at the memorial, Arnold and Lou, and Richard Simmons and Joe Weider, and everybody said, if it really wasn't for Jack, they may not have got started. You know, it was Jack, and then you saw Steve Reeves with the body. But now we're talking about in the 1960.
These are two different things, though. Steve Reeves is a bodybuilder.
Bodybuilder.
Yeah, and a lot of the guys back then didn't do strength feats, and then some did. Some would bend nails.
Right, yeah.
Some would bend bars.
Bars, right.
They'd drive a spike through a piece of wood, and those were strength feats.
And also Olympic lifters.
Yeah.
A lot of guys started with Olympic lifting background.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I did that. I did Olympic lifting. And the amazing thing was, people don't notice, but the Mr. America contest, 1/3 of the original Mr. America contest was clean and jerk. In other words, that counted as your points. It was symmetry round, posing round, and then clean and jerk. And that took place all the way while Bob Hoffman had the AAU.
Oh. Yeah.
And that was probably to 1980.
Yeah.
And then after that, with Chris Dickerson, I believe, it changed over, and then it became this other kind of judging. But there was a time like Vern Weaver beat out Harold Poole because he was a better lifter. And yet, Harold Poole really had a great body.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, but Vern Weaver was a better weightlifter.
I remember Vern Weaver very well.
Yeah.
But there were also powerlifting.
Yes. Powerlifting too, bench press, squat, and deadlift.
Bench press, squat, and deadlift is a good, for you people out there that are bodybuilding, that's one of the best bases to having a good body.
Yes.
You've got your chest, legs, and your lower back, and you get all your power and your strength from that. I started as a powerlifter, and my best bench was 455.
Right.
And
which is great.
It's a lot of weight.
Great bench. Yeah.
I don't know that I got that much size out of benches. I don't think you do. You get a lot of strength, but it definitely builds your base. It's your base like a foundation on your house for your chest and your back and all that.
Yeah, and I believe a perfect example of the Mr. Olympias had to be Sergio Oliva. He was an Olympic lifter for Cuba.
Yeah.
And then he weighed 198 back then, but he had the shoulders and everything. So once he packed the muscle on, it came on right. It came on right because he had the foundation.
Well, the clean and jerk is one of those things that really builds your delts and traps.
Right. And back.
And back. I mean, you get these big traps and a nice big back from doing exercise like that. And if you go to the gym today, you don't see that in the gyms anymore. No one does those kinds of exercises.
And you know what you don't see in the gym nowadays? You don't see the isolation big chest.
No.
You know, like Abe Goldberg, back in the day, they used to put in Bruce Randall.
Right.
They put their hands in there. You never saw their hands. They were all the way back here. The chest was out there like that. It was amazing.
Well, there's a reason why, because today on the growth hormone, a lot of the guys' stomachs are so big, they still got
They're protruding. They were going right with the chest.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Back then, they could do a vacuum and suck it way in, and your chest took it farther than
I would say one of the modernist guys probably may have been Zane.
Yeah.
Right? But Zane had such a tiny waist, and he was able to do the overhead vacuum.
He did the vacuum, exactly.
Yeah, but not too many guys.
No.
Not too many guys, no.
No. Did Jack train like a bodybuilder?
I think Jack trained like an endurance person.
Yeah.
I think he trained more like an endurance athlete. Like now it would be like the guy that does the triple.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that does the bike, the marathon, and swimming. But Jack's wife, Elaine was a hell of a swimmer. She was like a champion swimmer in 1948.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think the swimming started enhancing, especially that he wasn't squatting. So he figured, let's do the swimming, and he started doing the swimming as a cardio thing.
Yeah.
So it started with the swimming, and that's why he's actually a great swimmer.
I also think that I know he did, like you said, 1,000 push-ups, and my son and I were talking about push-ups for our chest routine the other day. You guys might want to try this because you can do your chest work and you can do a pressing movement, which is your foundation for strength and basis of it. Then you do your shaping movements, which are flies, and do your incline for your upper chest. And take one of those movements and superset it with push-ups. Elevate your feet on a bench and push up in between boxes, and you will get a pump in your chest like unbelievable.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. And the more you elevate, the more stretch it is.
Exactly.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
So anyway, we've run out of time, unfortunately. But I just want to say that I'm really happy to have Jack here, and these are some facts about Jack Lalanne. You can look him up on the internet. We'll flash photos as well. We're going to put some video on with Jack on the Jack Lalanne show that you'll really, really enjoy. And stay tuned for more Rick's Corner, because Jack will be back on. We'll talk about more stuff in time to come.
Take care.